Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Just wanted to show you the blessings. Then let's hit play. Let's dive into the run here. In today's video, I'm showing you, I think this is now my new record team for Brutal Hydra. And there's a few things that we're trying in this team that I really like how they work together. So I sort of want to point out those synergies for you and give you some ideas with your team. But like in particular, what we have going on in this team is two of the big things that I've really been hoping to push much more in my Hydra teams recently that I've really started becoming a huge fan of. I've said it multiple times now. You guys probably know at this point. But those two things are, number one, the weaken debuff, right? Previously a luxury, like historically, maybe a luxury in Hydra. Now for Hydra Clash, I'm seeing weaken as essential for max damage. And number two is ally attack. So yeah, we got some fun stuff going on here. For the weekend, we've got none other than Varl. I'm a big fan. Let's actually talk about Varl. I'm a huge fan of Varl. This is brutal difficulty, by the way. Huge fan of Varl. You know, I whipped him out, which was really fun, all the way back in the Deadwood Jedi Hydra battle, which was great. Really underrated champion. I've been waiting for a long time to like kind of rebuild him, fit him into a Hydra team, and it hasn't quite fit. But ultimately, sitting down, right, there's not a crazy amount of really good weekend champions for Hydra. Varl stands out, though. He stands out, and everyone can get him from the Doom Tower hard. It does take time. It's probably going to take you, I don't know, off the top of my head, how long does it take Varl? Probably at least a year and a half of playing the game, roughly. It takes a long time, but when you get him, he is such a solid option for Hydra. He brings AoE, decrease attack, and weaken, so he can protect you from the Head of Wrath. He can bring weaken to up your damage, and then he's got his passive, which scales him up to 100% bonus attack, which is going to make him hit really hard. Now, here's another cool thing we've got going on with Varl for Hydra, which is a nice synergy, is obviously with how Hex debuff works, right? It duplicates a small amount of AoE damage, but 10%, it's 2% AoE, 10% single target. On top of that, of course, in Hydra, especially with Head of Suffering, they all have these passives which reduce your AoE damage. Suffering, I think even is, what is it, 20%, 30%? A lot of damage reduction to AoE. Well, Varl has very big single target hits. There you can see his A3 Calamity Torrent already doing 1.5 million, and we didn't even have weaken on that head. It does a lot. Like, those are the sort of numbers that I was finding. When Varl was fully scaled up, he was probably hitting for like 600,000 AoE on decapitated heads, I would say, roughly speaking, with his A2. I'd say his A1 was typically hitting for about 1 million, and his A3 is typically hitting for about 2 million. Those are rough numbers. They're not exact, but roughly speaking, that's the sort of damage output you're looking at. It's actually a lot of damage. It adds up, and a ton of that is duplicated through Hex, which is great. So he is fantastic. I actually saw Hades did a video on Varl really recently too. It's actually, I checked it out. They were quite similar teams. Really, quite similar. Let's talk about another... let's talk about the ally attack. Let's talk about another cool synergy in this team, which is fun. That synergy is a difficult one to do because it's Krisk with Grand Oak Padraig. This is a fun little synergy. What are the synergies that are happening there? Well, we've got two really big things. Number one, ally attack, of course. And number two, the buff extension from Krisk. So perhaps I actually do think Vault Keeper Wixwell should work pretty well as a sort of budget Krisk, a Krisk-esque character, honestly. What is happening? So, interesting couple of things. Grand Oak Padraig, he gives us increased attack. He gives us increased defense for Michinaki, increased attack for Varl. He basically boosts your damage, gives us increased attack for Inquisitor Shamael. It's not up 100% because he only puts it up for one turn. So for instance, with Michinaki takes his turn. The increase, it actually just happened right there. The increased defense can fall off. Well, the buff extension from Krisk helps that to be more consistent, which is really nice. He will help that increased defense to be up for longer, to persist, and to, yeah, basically, that's it. It helps it to persist for longer, and you get more damage out, which is really cool. Krisk also helps the increased speed that Padraig puts out to do a lot more. He helps the continuous heals that Padraig puts out to heal you for a lot more. So it's that buff extension with the buffs that Padraig provides. It's a really nice combo. Krisk is our only decreased speed champ with this team, and it's not very consistent. But again, the ally attack from Padraig does help Krisk be much more consistent at placing the decreased speed. It's another nifty little combo that you've got going on, which is cool. So yeah, they're the sort of the couple of things in there that are pretty nice. We've got, you know, a little bit of overlap. We've got, what, 3 champions that can do decrease attack. Varl, obviously, Krisk with his passive, and then Michinaki, 3 decrease attack. We've got Michinaki, Krisk with his passive, and then Ugo all bringing decreased defense. So we're overlapping a bit. But, you know, if you had stronger champions, like that was a big hit right there from Varl, actually, you could you know, make a stronger team. But as you can see, the damage per turn here is really, really high. It's really substantial. I did have to manually target stuff. Let me talk about the big weakness of this team. A couple of big weaknesses is, number one, the AI targeting for Varl and Padraig. For whatever reason, they do not want to use their moves on decapitated heads. So Varl in particular, for whatever reason, I think he wants to target the highest health enemy with his A3. But like, Varl will be sat there with like a red affinity decapitated head like this, and he'd be like, okay, yeah, I could A3 this decapitated head for massive damage. Or what about Head of Suffering? He spawned in and he's got a huge damage reduction buff. So my A3 will do almost nothing. Oh, I'm an A3 that Head of Suffering every time. So Varl, his AI is really dumb. You have to just click ahead. If you were willing to manual this more, you could obviously every time it, you know, you could obviously make him always do it. But I was just like, just targeting one head at a time. Oftentimes it's magic affinity with this team because, you know, we've got a few other magic affinity champs in there. Preferably the perfect target for this team, there's only one of them, which is on this rotation, is spirit affinity. And there's quite a lot of force affinity, which sucks because the force affinity makes it quite a bit harder for Michinaki to do damage, sadly. But spirit affinity is perfect because then you're getting kind of max damage out of everybody. There's only Head of Torment this rotation, that's spirit. But other rotations could be better. But yeah, that's one problem with Varl. He will be dumb with his AI. Padraig, again, he will just slam the ally attack move into freshly respawned heads. And you're like, okay, that did no damage when it should have done loads. So you do have to click on the decapitated heads to force them to target the decapitated heads, which is quite... It's not the most annoying thing in the world, but it does mean you just have to sort of pay attention. And this run's like an hour long. So, you know, it takes time. So that's a bit of a bummer. Obviously, with this team, we've got no reviver. And that's the other big problem, because again, with Varl, you have to be careful, especially for this rotation, because I'm using Ugo as my block buff champion. Suffering can obviously be weak hit, not get block buffs, and put up reflect damage. And again, Varl will be like, oh wow, I could hit, you know, I could hit this head over here, and he's, you know, super squishy. I do huge damage. This is great. And he'll be like, or I could hit Suffering, who's sat there with reflect damage on, and I can kill myself. And Varl will be like, let's go, baby. I'm sick of this game. Get me out of here. Varl will just kill himself hitting the reflect damage Suffering, which is, you know, suboptimal, to put it bluntly, especially without a reviver. So you do have to be careful with the reflect damage. Again, I found for this run that simply targeting, like, he won't kill himself with his A2, but he will totally kill himself with his A1 or his A3 if he hits a reflect damage head. So you have to make sure not to do that. So that's a fairly chunky downside as well, unfortunately. Like, you could actually put Wukong, Sun Wukong, into this team and it would kind of work. I did find Ugo good for the extra cleanse and healing. I actually found that to be quite helpful for this team, to be honest. Like, I think there would be a decent chance we could die if we didn't have Ugo to cleanse the heal reduction. Because, you know, Varl, you can see just from the HP bars, Varl's pretty darn squishy. But yeah, look, guys, that is sort of how the run goes. This was almost 2 hours long, but we skip on ahead. I was really hoping we would hit 800 million. We didn't, sadly, quite make it. We hit the 797.81. We were so close to 800 million. And these are the final damage numbers. Michinaki, he's not awakened at all. So that's a, you know, again, if this is 6-star crushing Ren Michinaki, we're hitting 1 billion damage, right? That's how broken that is, probably. You know, it's a game changer, that. But he's doing the most damage, obviously chunk from Hex. Krisk, he is in a cursed set, so he's also applying Hex as well, just helping the Hex to be as consistent as possible, which helps the Michinaki passive to be as consistent as possible, adds more damage. Krisk is doing a big chunk of damage from the Hex as well. Padraig's doing a bit from War Master. Ugo is doing a bit more from War Master. Shamail's doing a big chunk. He's 5-star, which is nice. And then Varl is 2-star right now, and he was doing 200 million. So as you can see, Varl, what does he bring to the team? He's number one, doing a lot of upfront damage just by himself. He simply hits hard. Number two, he's bringing Weaken, which is upping everybody else's damage, which is great. And yeah, he helps them stay alive with the decreased attack as well, which is nice. So he's a great champion. Do not sleep on Mr. Varl. And there you go. That's the team. So I'm very, very, very happy with this team. Oh, wait, we're doing some classic arena farming. Very nice. But yeah, very happy with this team. Like I said, this is my personal best in Brutal. I've actually done really well. I let the clan down. Obviously, Trunda, you can do 25 billion, which is 25 times more damage. That's fine. But like I've done very, very solid. This is, like I said, my best Brutal key. It does mean I've not used Krisk Padraig for Nightmare, which, you know, maybe I will switch it to. We'll see, maybe. But for this week, for sure, I'm super happy with this. It's been a monster of a key. Big damage. Let me show you the builds. Yeah, let me show you the builds. So let's go in. Let's go. First, we've got Michinaki. I'm going to be re-gearing my other one for Nightmare into damage. I'm just going full damage Michinaki now. So he's in lethal. I think this is the way. He just hits very, very hard. So Michinaki, his defense is pretty low. 4.7, 249 speed, 268% crit damage, and then 437 accuracy. For Hydra, you can see I've been trying to make myself do more live arena to actually get the ignore defense finished. That would be nice, but he has enough accuracy actually for Nightmare, and yeah, like this. But it's an okay build. His defense could be higher. It's kind of low. It's one of those annoying things for me where I actually use defense nukers in arena way more than attack nukers. So it's tough to get my best defense nuker gear out. And he has War Master in this. Again, it might be worth switching him into Helm Smasher even. That's something to consider. That's how he's built for now. But that's something to test in the future. Let me know. Do you run Michinaki with War Master versus Helm Smasher in Brutal, Nightmare, even Hard? And what difference did you find? I'm actually quite curious. We had Krisk in there. So Krisk is coming in Cursed with Perception. And he is coming in with these stats. So he's actually overkill on his stats. Like he is overkill on the resist, even accuracy. He's got high speed. So he was, by the way, our solo provoker. He's not able to do it 100%. But, you know, it's kind of good enough for the most part. I've swapped him over to Cruelty just to stack that up better. Love to get him to 5-star. I don't know. If we got him to 5-star, we could totally re-gear him because, again, that extra resist and accuracy, he'd be so overkill at that point. But stacking up Cruelty faster is really nice. And he is with this. I might remaster him at some point and ditch Lasting Gifts for Sniper. With the Cursed set in particular, it makes the decreased speed and the Hex more consistent. So that's something I might do. So just so you're aware. Who's up next? We have Padraig. So I would love to re-gear Padraig as well. Right now, I've got him in a cool build, which is 9-piece protection. Because remember, he is giving us 1 buff from his passive. Then he gives continuous heal over here. He has increased speed over here. So he can be giving us 3 buffs fairly consistently, which is 5%. It's up to 15% more damage. So it's a solid build. Also, you know, the buffs being protected can help as well. Whenever Mischief tries to steal from someone that's not Krisk, it can help. Oh, the dog's breaking into my room to see this amazing Padraig build. I do think that I would much prefer to have him in 4-piece reflex. Hello, dog. Have you come? Have you broken in? What have you got? Have you brought me a toy? Oh my god. Your toy's been green screened. It's green. It's like, what? I don't know what to do here. I'd much rather have him in probably 4-piece reflex, reduce skill cooldown with... I just don't have the gear right now. With the 4-piece Merciless, I need Merciless accessories. Then you get a chance to reduce skill cooldown when dealing damage. So stacking as many different sets with cooldown reduction as possible. Again, Impulse. Impulse just got buffed. So if you've got some of that from Live Arena, you could potentially run even some Impulse, perhaps. But I think the 4-piece Merciless, maybe even, does it give you speed? No, never mind. 4-piece Merciless, 4-piece Reflex would be pretty ideal. It's pretty darn good. That would be the way to go with him, I think, and synergizes well with other ally attacks or counter attack or anything like that. But he is in this build, which is high speed, basically, just high speed. He actually has crit rate, funny enough, as well. And yeah, then he's got War Master. I think just one of my faster gloves is double speed is crit rate. So he's got quite a bit of crit rate, which is cool. Then we had, remember, Varl, of course. I haven't shown you the Varl. I just bought the 2-star blessing for Varl. I probably shouldn't. I should really be saving up for 4-star blessings. I get too tempted. I've got terrible self-control when it comes to getting 2-star blessings on damage deal. Terrible self-control. He's coming in, though, 6.2k attack, 240 speed, 250 crit damage, 337 accuracy. So again, for Hydra, it's looking like this. And he is in lethal and cruel, right, for that extra ignore defense, which is really strong. Obviously, you would prefer to have him in 6-piece merciless would be ideal. That is difficult to do, though, right? That gives you even more ignore defense, which is great, and the chance to reduce cooldown is great. Even 9-piece merciless could be pretty sick, but it just might be difficult to keep him alive, especially this affinity. Head of Wrath is blue, he's green. Kind of bad if he outruns the ally protection. He might just die. So something to watch out for. And for his masteries, he does have Helm Smasher. I've given him Heaven Cast as well. Funny enough, because I saw someone else in my clan, I think Llama was doing this, I do think Hero Soul is actually better. Hero Soul, yeah, versus Heaven Cast, it's half damage. So he needs 4 buffs. Right, and this team, he doesn't often have 4 buffs, so technically Hero Soul is a bit better, but it's like the occasional 0.5% damage worth the 300 gems. I don't know, maybe it is actually, but I haven't bothered to switch it quite yet, because again, this is the first time actually running this team. Which Ugo was it? 3-star Awakened? Oh, I've got 2 of them, must be this one. The 3-star Awakened Ugo, Relentless. I don't know if you guys heard that. The dog's going, the dog, you crazy dog. Are you a crazy dog? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my God. Hello. Here, come on, pets. I'll pet you while I'm talking. I probably prefer to, again, switch Ugo into Reflex or like Reflex Impulse or something. I would like to re-gear just to sort of limit the Ugo turns, because we're hitting turn limit, right? So these extra turns for Ugo is sort of lost damage. So that's something I'd ultimately like to change. But gosh, you just need so much reflex gear. It gets tough to do. And then we have our Shamael, who appears to be in the vault. He is in the vault. There he is. So this Shamael, he's in random gear. Again, preferably he would be in reflex, right? That would be ideal. Or Zeal, perhaps. You know, something to up his damage. But he's coming in with the 5-star Cruelty, which is sort of nice to stack up the Ignore Defense. 6-star probably would go Crushing Ren to make his A1 smack harder. But yeah, he's coming in with 5.7k attack, which is actually quite a lot. His base attack sucks. Well, not sucks, but it's not great. And 3 to 4% crit damage. He's in quite a solid build. But he just obviously doesn't have the lethal or whatever. Again, Reflex would be ideal just to slam out. I think, yeah, Reflex plus Zeal or something like that. Just slam out as many of these A2s as possible. And his masteries are this. I didn't show Ugo, I think. But Ugo masteries are, just in case I didn't, Ugo's masteries are like this. So there you go. Fairly straightforward. That is the team. Basically 800 million damage on Hydra, which, times that by 3? That's like 2.4 billion points for Hydra Clash, because you get a 3 times multiplier for Brutal. Yes, again, like I said, this is my record. I'm very, very happy with this. And yeah, but we'll keep tweaking things and improving. I'd meant to do this a couple of weeks ago. I think we're we're a good bit into the rotation. Yeah. 2 weeks. Yeah, I meant to do this like week 1, so I'm 2 weeks late doing this. But hey, here we go. It is what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's my Varl team. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.